At City Hall, Mayor Brandon Johnson's property tax hike is rejected by City Council.
It was an increase the mayor called to balance the budget. Sabrina Franza joins us live. Sabrina, a lot has happened in the last hour.
Jim Marie, it is unanimous. Every single alderperson voted down the mayor's $300 million property tax proposal. They say they have plenty of ideas. Now Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to be forced to listen to them.
It's a devastating loss for Mayor Johnson. I've been here, going on 17 years. I've never seen this kind of vote take place. And I think in many of our lifetimes, we've never seen this. So it sends a message that that massive property tax increase he was looking for is not going to happen.
At the end of the day, the state of Illinois has designed municipalities to run on property taxes. We have tried to do the best we can to avoid that. However, it becomes a point where some of those things are necessary.
Some of those suggestions we've heard from aldermen in the past 2 weeks included increased liquor tax, increased garbage collection fees, and contributing less to the advance pension payments. Also at today's meeting, members of the Fraternal Order of Police. This is CBS News Chicago has obtained a letter from Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Raoul asking Johnson to, quote, reconsider proposed cuts to the Chicago Police Department. Cuts which would decrease the number of employees charged with fulfilling the department's consent decree. Raoul adds that doing so would place the city at, quote, significant risk of being held in contempt of court. Now, Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected to host a press conference to answer questions about all of these things that are currently happening at the same time. Shooting down this $300 million property tax increase does not necessarily mean that a property tax increase will not eventually pass, but it does force everyone back to the drawing board when the deadline for this budget is at the end of the year. We'll bring you the update from that press conference on the CBS News Chicago newscast at 6 p.m. For now, we're live.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm putting together tonight, as you can see, it seems like Brandon Johnson, okay, no matter how much pushback he's getting in Chicago by public officials and the people of Chicago, he just doesn't seem to understand that what he's doing, everything that he's doing, okay, is totally wrong. It's wrong for Chicago, it's wrong for Illinois, it's wrong for all the people there. Okay? But, I don't understand why Brandon Johnson just doesn't listen, okay, to the people of Chicago. Now, I know he's just the mayor of Chicago, but he needs to sit down with the governor of Chicago, and they really need to start listening to what the people want. Not the small minority of people that want an influx of illegal migrants coming in and using up their resources. They need to listen to the hardworking, tax-paying people of Chicago, okay? The people that have been born and raised there, the people that have stuck it out, okay? Trying to make Chicago a better place. They need to listen to them. But leave it up to Brandon Johnson to stand by his guns, because he still is beholden, okay, to this leftist ideology that only has but so much time left in the White House. But, he can't let go and say, you know what, in a couple of months, there's going to be some major changes in this country. And not only am I going to get it from the government side, I'm going to get even more pushback, okay, from the voters. But it's almost as if he lives in this bubble. And not only him, the governor of Chicago actually said that he, I'm just paraphrasing here, basically that he's going to go up against Trump and Homan, who's going to be in charge of the border, when they go in to start rounding up the illegals and deporting them. These two people that are running Chicago, okay, if they're not, in my opinion, if they're not the epitome of gangsters, I don't know what is. And I don't mean that like with a pun intended to it or something like that, because of, the the history that Chicago has with organized crime and stuff like that. No, but if you look at them, okay, they seem like they're damn, mafia bosses. Like they're not going to give up their territory. But they're not understanding that that territory belongs to the taxpayers. Their salaries are provided by the taxpayers. Okay? They won't step down, but at the same time, they're not willing to let anything go. They just want to keep putting lipstick on this pig and making it seem like, you know what, we're going to get through this. Is like, if you have all the aldermen, if you have, well, I believe in another video I put out, I think it was a unanimous vote, 30 to 0 or 50 to 0, something like that, that went against him. How does he not look at that and say, you know what, we're not going to win this, and if we do, we're just going to look more and more like dictators. Okay, plain and simple. Where they won't let go of power. They won't do what the people want. The people that voted for them. Not the illegals, nothing like that. The people that voted for them are fed up. They want this to stop. They want the cuts to stop. They want the tax increase to stop. They want the illegal immigrants out. They want a new sense of stability, okay, in Illinois, in Chicago. But Brandon Johnson just won't give up. He truly thinks he has this in the bag. He thinks that he knows, he thinks that what he's doing is because he knows best. And it's like, you don't know what you're doing. Well, I'll take that back. He knows what he's doing, okay? It's just that he doesn't care. I mean, it's really despicable the way this man can go out there, listen to everybody's grievances time and time and time again, and all he does is nod his head at them, okay, but nothing gets done. He keeps putting Chicago in this financial mess, and the governor is backing him up. I mean, this is, once again, okay, this is what happens when Democrats get into power and right away they think that everything belongs to them. They talk a good talk, they get everybody's vote, and once they're in, that's it. It's over. And the funny thing is, okay, that during the election, Donald Trump's numbers went up in 48 or 49 states. Okay? Illinois included, where more people voted Republican in Illinois than any other time. And it's like they said since like 1992 or something like that. We're talking 32 years that this mess has been going on. And you would think that they would look at the tea leaves and say, you know what, we need to like change route because we're losing. But if we keep up trying to hold on to this power, it's going to get really ugly. And not for the people. It's going to get ugly for the politicians. But they're acting like damn gangsters, like they just don't give a shit. Okay? Now I got another video clip I'm going to show, but the one video clip that I'm going to show so everybody can see, once again, at a town hall meeting, the people of Chicago are just totally pissed off, and it just, Johnson just looks at them. I mean, he's just so damn condescending. Okay? Why they haven't had a recall yet, not only for Johnson, but for the governor and whoever else they can have a recall on, why the people of Chicago have not taken that route is beyond me, which I think they should. Don't wait till 2026. Don't wait till that. Do it now. Go out there and protest now. Okay? To remove these people. And get the people in that can help Chicago get better. But before I put any more comments, let's get into the next video clip. Here we go.
Tonight, a major blow to Mayor Brandon Johnson. All 5 alders rejected his $300 million property tax hike proposal.
This coming just days after the mayor walked back the plan. Political reporter Paris Schutz has been following this. He joins us live with more. Paris.
Dawn and Terrence, certainly is a major political loss for the mayor. As you mentioned, unanimous disapproval for that $300 million property tax hike, although today's vote kind of symbolic because the mayor scrapped those plans anyway, seeing the opposition and acknowledging that he needed to negotiate with alder people on a backup plan for that money. But some alders say they weren't invited to the party, and today's unanimous rebuke is unprecedented.
It's a devastating loss for Mayor Johnson. I've been here, going on 17 years. I've never seen this kind of vote take place. And I think in many of our lifetimes, we've never seen this. So it sends a message that that massive property tax increase he was looking for is not going to happen. But it also sends him a message that, if he's looking to get attention by sticking seniors and families with a massive tax hike, it's not the way to govern.
The other part of this is that we have structural revenue issues that if they're not solved, we would be in this situation year after year after year. We can't give out 5% raises and have no revenue to support it. So I think that our residents understand that services cost. I mean, if you ask someone in a vacuum, do you want taxes raised? Of course, the answer is going to be no. But if you ask them, do you want your garbage service cut? Do you want garbage picked up every other week instead of every week? Do you want street lights on only for 2 hours instead of all night? When you ask these questions, though, the answers become different.
Well, I mean, what I'm not understanding is that they have all these aldermen. Now, of course, they all voted unanimously, the city council, to reject all the tax hikes. But here's the thing. Why didn't they think about this a year ago, 2 years ago? Okay? Why let it boil over till we get to this point where now people are just getting upset even after the election? Now they're going to come out and say something. And if you ask me, in all honesty, I blame all these aldermen. I know there's been one or two that have been with the people, but I blame them all because if you see that with the influx of all the illegals coming in, that the city is taking billions upon billions of dollars and then taking money from the federal government to cater to them. Nothing has changed as far as what you should have been doing with all that money that you was hoarding, okay? And all of a sudden it's like, well, of course we're gonna talk down that tax hike because we don't have the money, but we got to figure something out. But it's like you should have thought about that when you opened up the bank and say, you know what? We're going to take all these illegals in. They're going to be our future constituents. Let's just give them all this money. Let's take all this money and do this for them. And yet the problems in Chicago haven't changed. And that's one of the damn problems that all these blue cities have. That people need services. They need things. They need lower taxes. They need better services for whatever it is to make the city run, the neighborhoods run. But right away they say we got to take it up in a vote. When the next election comes, send your grievances in. X, Y, and Z. This, and that. Yada, yada, yada. And then people wait and they vote and they wait and they give them just a little bit and then they vote for them again and they wait. But then all of a sudden to get on Biden and Harris's good side, just so they, because they're being told if you let these people in, we're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure you stay in power. We're going to make sure that these new arrivals are going to vote for you. All of a sudden, they spit into people's faces and they come up with hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that should have been used already to start making the neighborhoods in places like Chicago better, to make the schools better, to make housing better. Okay? And now it's like, now with all the blowback, now they're going to say, well, you know what? People are going to get upset, and rightly so. But don't make it seem like, these people need to understand that these things are going to cost money. And of course, if we take a vote, they're going to want you to, to spend that tax money on that and not raise taxes. But this is the conversation you should have had a year ago. This is what you should have been telling the mayor, okay, when he was over here taking money, allocating money, the taxpayer money, while people are going broke in Chicago, okay, instead of giving some of that money back on a tax break to every single taxpayer in Chicago, in Illinois, no, they decide, you know what, we're just going to take this and we're going to fight back against the new administration if they come and try to take the illegals because we're a sanctuary city. What about the sanctuary for the people of Chicago? What about their way of living? What about their safety? What about the schools for their children? What about helping out, like, couples that really don't make much, but they have children, trying to help them, paying for, like, for some really good after school programs like that. If they need to work a little later, their kids have somewhere safe to go. What about programs like that? What about programs for single mothers that need to work late? What about programs to help bring up people in the neighborhood that need a better education? And I'm talking for adults. You'll go and you take all this money, billions of dollars, to coddle to migrants. Okay, all they're doing is bringing in drugs and gangs and all kinds of crap. But you won't do nothing to bring up your constituents' livelihoods. And now everybody's talking about, these are the things that we need, and he wants to cut on trash and on the police and all this stuff. Well, what did you think was going to happen? It's been no secret. He's been doing it for so long now. But now that it's a big number and more people are fighting back, now all the aldermen have no choice but to say, no, we can't vote. We can't vote for that. But is it going to change Brandon Johnson's mind? No. Okay? And I say that because there's a clip here of something that he says, and maybe I'm taking it wrong. Maybe if you guys listen to it and I'll point it out, maybe you guys can tell me, am I thinking am I right on what he's saying? Or am I overthinking it? But listen to what Brandon Johnson has to say, something specific that I'm just like, this man is not going to give up, people in Chicago. I'm telling you right now. Okay? By something that he says that I'm going to point out, he's not going to stop. Your best bet is going out there and protesting to get him out of office and to get your governor out of office. Let's continue.
The mayor acknowledging he does not want to cut services, so the question where to get that extra revenue. Some ideas have been brought up, including legalizing Delta 8 hemp products and bringing in that tax revenue, or perhaps a tax on cloud computing companies. Now, the mayor's also getting pushback from the Illinois Attorney General, Kwame Arul, who wrote a letter saying he had grave concerns about proposed cuts to CPD in this budget, and Raul says those cuts could threaten their compliance with the consent.
Yeah, just give the illegal criminals more safe spaces to stay, and get rid of the cops that are supposed to be paid to protect the taxpayers of Chicago.
Decree to constitutionally police. Now, Mayor Johnson says today's unanimous rebuke is a sign that there's a new collaborative approach in town instead of.
This is a healthy process. This is something that my administration can handle. I'm not intimidated by voices from individuals who are city leaders in their own respect. So this is a good thing for Chicago. It's a new process. People will learn to adjust to it as we continue to move forward.
That right there, what he just said, people will learn to adjust to it as we move forward. Now, am I taking this the wrong way? That he's saying that, you know what? Yeah, everybody's going to have their grievances, even the city council or whoever, but, in other words, we're going to work with, you're going to keep saying what you got to say, you're going to keep grieving and airing out your grievances, but I'm just going to keep yesing you to death, and that's just going to be part of the norm, but we're still going to continue forward with doing what I want to do, forget about what the taxpayer wants. Am I looking at this wrong, people? Because if I am, leave it in the comments. But that's the way I see it. It's not about that, we're going to get used to these things and we're going to work through it. No, it's about just stopping it right at the beginning. Just don't do it. Just stop. It's not about working it out anymore. But the way you got to work it out is, you know what? The people have spoken. We're stopping. I find it so ironic, okay? I find it disgustingly ironic, okay, that when Biden and his administration, his regime is saying we're going to leave the borders open, okay, we are going to let people in, okay, that Brandon Johnson says we have to listen to and work with the administration. Okay, now listen to this because it's a big twist on it. So now those people come to Chicago. The people of Chicago get fed up and say, no, we don't want this. But yet Brandon Johnson says, okay, and the governor, no, we have to deal with this because this is a sanctuary city and there's nothing we can do because our hands are tied because of what the president is saying, right? But yet, Donald Trump says that on day one, he's going to start deporting people. And Brandon Johnson and the governor now say, no, this is our city. We're going to push you back. That's not going to be so easy. But wait a minute. If the Biden administration is telling you taking these illegals, and you're telling your constituents there's nothing you could do about it, Biden's administration is going to be out, a new administration is coming in, and is telling you the opposite, we're going to get rid of those people. Now you're going to say no? Who are you working for? Are you working for the Biden administration and your constituents, or are you working just for the Biden administration? Because if you're working for both, that means you have to work for either Biden's administration when he's in, or Trump's administration. Doesn't matter whose administration. If you're going to work for Biden, you have to work for the next one. And at the same time, work for what's best for your constituents. But that's not what he's doing. He's working only for the leftist agenda. Okay? And this is why I say that the people of Chicago need to find out their legal ways on how they can go and oust this man and the governor at the same time. Because it's obvious that they'll only listen to the left side of the politics. They won't listen to the right side, and they definitely are not listening to their constituents who don't want this chaos anymore. They need to be impeached. They need to be kicked out. Plain and simple. Okay? You can't have it both ways. This man cannot have it both ways. He cannot come out and say that he's working with Biden and he's trying to do what's right by the people. But if the people are telling him, kick out the illegals, let us keep our money here, don't raise taxes, then he's gonna come out and say, well, kind of like saying that his hands are tied. But now Trump wants to come and alleviate a lot of that stress for the people. And just like what was her name? The one before him, that her nickname was Beetlejuice or whatever. Before him, and then the one before her, which was Emmanuel, something like that. It's all the same thing. All the same thing. They'll only listen to the their leftist overlords and forget about the people. And then when the people start rising and they say we want something different, we want to go with the people on the right, they're going to double and triple down and say, nope, they're not going to be able to come in here and get rid of these illegals. But you're getting it from both sides, man. You're not going to have Biden in your pocket anymore. Once he's gone. That's it. In case this man and the governor of Chicago haven't realized, Trump won the presidency. The Republicans won the Senate. The Republicans won the House. Okay? Chicago voted more Republican this year than any other in the past 30 since 1992, along with other states like Chicago, New York, Pennsylvania, and Los Angeles. I think or San Francisco, one of those. It's like in all these blue-run cities, the people have spoken. They have shown that they are a threat now to people like Gavin Newsom, to Brandon Johnson, Mayor Adams, and it's like they won't budge. It's like your overlord is not going to be in office in a few months. You need to start listening to the people that voted your asses in. And the people that voted them in need to say now, you know what? Forget about the small minority that wants to keep this chaos going. Forget about that small fringe left. It's time for the people to get together and start impeaching these people and voting them out. Everybody can go out there and protest for Black Lives Matter, Antifa, trans rights, pro-Palestinian. Damn it, now it's time for Americans to get up and start protesting for their American rights and push these freaking leftist overlords out of office. Let's listen to what more people have to say in Chicago. Here we go.
Brandon Johnson have ignored every plea, call, cry. You're going to protect the undocumented while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer.
You ain't going to abide by what the President of the United States said. Everybody know better than that. Loser, get rid of the illegals.
Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red. Ooh, Chicago residents tearing into Mayor Brandon Johnson at a heated city council meeting last week, accusing the mayor of prioritizing the needs of illegal immigrants over U.S. citizens in Chicago. Tio Hardiman, Executive Director of Violence Interrupters, joins us now. It doesn't seem to be a popular guy, Tio, with many constituents. Who exactly does he represent these days?
Right now, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he represents himself and his party, because a lot of the people in Chicago are frustrated with his performance so far as the mayor, especially when it comes down to the migrant issue here in Chicago.
So what exactly is it that the constituents are upset about?
Well, African-American people have been deprived of resources for decades in Chicago. If you travel to the south and west side of Chicago, you know you can count thousands of abandoned buildings, a lot of people living in poverty, and people are just upset because there appears to be a priority for the migrants compared to prioritizing some of the issues of single African-American women that have been living like in homeless situations. We had over 60,000 homeless people living in Chicago before the migrants came to Chicago. And the homeless people here were never a priority until the migrants came to Chicago, and they're still not a priority even to this date. That's the reason why a lot of African-American people are upset. Hispanic people voted for Donald Trump as well in Chicago because some Hispanic people are upset. And people need to understand this. What Donald Trump is doing here, what he's saying is that if you come over here legally, it's okay, but do not come to our country illegally. So I don't know why people have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
No. Well, the problem is that the left keeps pushing out this damn, this fear tactic, okay? Not to mention on social media, the regular mainstream media, and at the U.S. Capitol, they keep pushing this damn leftist agenda, brainwashing people. I've been trying to cover this for the past couple of videos. Mind you, people, let me just bring it up now, that the videos are not getting a lot of views, and I wonder why, okay? Now, I don't want to say, the term shadow ban, but that's what it seems like, okay? The last video I did about Project 2025 got what? 40-something views. The video I put out last night got 41 views. The video I put out the 2 nights before that on Project 2025, okay, I'm going to have to delete that video because all of a sudden, okay, I'm getting all these copyright marks on it, which I thought it was just one segment. But no, now that I look down the list, it's damn near the whole video. It's like nobody wants to talk about how all this bullshit from the left is being indoctrinated into people's brains, okay? And yet the real people that need their voices heard, like I've been trying to show, okay, are not being listened to by the ones that they voted into office. But yet you have people on the left saying that Donald Trump is a threat. How can anybody vote for Donald Trump? Let's forget about Donald Trump for a while, okay? Let's just forget about Donald Trump for a while. What about the people in Chicago, okay, that voted for Brandon Johnson, that finally realized, you know what, he's not the man for the job. He's got to change. They're not being listened to. What about the people in California who voted for Gavin Newsom, and then when they found out that he was a snake of a man, now they want him out, they're not being listened to? What about the people in New York that felt the same thing with Eric Adams? They voted him in because he talked a good talk, okay? And then when he didn't freaking produce, now people want him out, and nobody listens to the constituents. But everybody on the left in Capitol Hill, on mainstream media, on social media, wants everybody to think that Donald Trump is the boogeyman. Donald Trump is not the governor and mayor of these states and cities, okay? As a matter of fact, Donald Trump hasn't been president in 4 years. But they keep trying to push this fear tactic saying that this is what Donald Trump wants, and more people are waking up saying, you know what? And it sounds right. It sounds right what he wants to do. Because we've been airing out grievances in New York, in Chicago, in California, in Colorado, in Seattle, especially Seattle. And these leftists don't listen, and they won't let go of power. Okay? But yet they have the nerve to say that Donald Trump is the one that wants to be a dictator. Who is acting like the dictators now? Not just one dictator. We're talking a dictator in every blue state. Okay? Maybe even 2 or 3 of them. When it comes to the governor, the mayor, attorney general, they're all in there. Never mind the small little dictators, like all the judges that they have that keep going along with all this illegal migrant bullshit. You know? That's what the problem is. That's why I'm saying that people need to get together en masse and just and protest these people to get out of office and get somebody in there that can make things better. It is a damn shame that billions upon billions of dollars have gone to people that have come here illegally, that have broken the law. Okay? And yet you still have abandoned buildings in Chicago. That we have abandoned buildings in any state in America. Okay? But they won't take that money, all right, and try to build up neighborhoods, because then they'll talk about, oh, there's a lot of red tape to do that. But you sure found a way to open up hotels and shelters that were abandoned and fix them up for the illegals. You did that with the taxpayer money, but you didn't listen to the taxpayers when they said, we're sick and tired of looking at this neighborhood decrepit, help us build it up. We can't touch that money. That's not what it's for. But you used the money to fix it, to bring in people that came into the country illegally. People are not stupid.
Not just Hispanic people in Chicago, but all along those counties along the border in the southern part of Texas that have been blue for so long, they went red in this election. So the president-elect ran on and was elected on a platform to start deporting a lot of these illegal immigrants, beginning with obvious criminals and the trendy Aragua gang. But the leadership there in Chicago and the state of Illinois...
Oh, let me jump in real quick now that he mentions that. I don't know if anybody's heard, and I probably should have put a segment out tonight. I'm going to do a little more research if I can. But supposedly, with Tennessee getting all their blue overlords in charge, now this Venezuelan gang has taken over 4 key parts of Tennessee. Okay? They have gone into Nashville. Nashville, I know off the top of my head, but there's 4 key parts in Tennessee that they have said this Venezuelan gang has set up shop. So now, for all the people in Tennessee that voted blue, for all these politicians that were out there, pumping their fist and saying, you got to take me back in, you fired me because I'm black, or I'm this, or I'm that, or whatever the hell it is you want to use as an excuse, now you got this gang in 4 key parts of Tennessee. Whose fault is that? Okay? It wasn't Trump's fault. It wasn't the Republicans' fault. I'll take that back. Not the real Republicans, maybe the rhinos, and it definitely was the Democrats' fault, and all you bleeding heart liberals. So now Tennessee has been infiltrated by this gang.
Illinois is saying, we're going to fight them every step of the way. Listen here.
To anyone who intends to come take away the freedom and opportunity and dignity of Illinoisans, I would remind you that a happy warrior is still a warrior.
Okay, he's referring this to Trump coming in and getting rid of the illegals. All of a sudden, now the illegals are citizens, right? Shouldn't you be saying this to the illegals that are coming in and hurting and taking away the resources of the people that voted your fat ass in? No. He won't direct it to them because he is still emboldened, okay, to an overlord in the White House that barely exists, and I hate saying it that way, okay, that's not going to be in the White House in the next couple of months. And this man can be so pompous and so just arrogantly ignorant to come out and say that now you're going to fight Donald Trump. Another one. He's got his constituents on one side saying we don't want this. He's got Amanda who's going to come in and say, you know what, I'm going to try to help. I'm going to do this so like that we can make sure that we have more security for the people, build up the people. His answer, just like Brandon Johnson, just like Gavin Newsom, just like Adams in New York and Kathy Hochul and the rest of them, they're like, no. Just so you people know, if any of you didn't make up your mind during the election, okay, I hope this kind of stuff, this video, this content, what these people are pulling out, okay, I hope it makes you think clear now and say, you know what, okay, I'm done with this. Come the next one, they got my vote. Because these people don't have your best interests at heart, trust me.
You come for my people, you come through me.
This is a city that will remain a welcoming city. We're going to stand up. We're going to protect undocumented individuals.
See?
You know, a lot of people are saying.
There you go. You see? We're going to protect undocumented immigrants. This was put out yesterday. The other video clip I showed you that he spoke was put out 6 days ago. Like I said, he's not going to stop helping these illegal migrants. What you people are doing by going to the city council and stuff, that's good. You got to keep the pressure on. But now the next step is you need to find a way to vote this man out. You need to find a way to vote out that governor.
Saying that Kamala Harris lost because the Democratic Party is out of touch with what its constituents really wants. But what do you think of what the officials are saying to you?
Yeah, what people in America should understand that over 76 million people voted for Donald Trump. Also, Trump painted a very clear narrative that the Democrats have failed in the area of the economy, the conflict in the Middle East, the migrant issue, and so many other issues out there. The perceptionist Democrats have truly failed. I wish the leaders in Illinois and Chicago would fight the same way for this high unemployment rate for African-American young men between the ages of 16 and 25, which is staggering. It's around 85%. You can check those numbers out. Why won't we fight to make sure these young guys are employed here in Chicago? And we have issues with gun violence all over, running rampant here in Chicago. So let's step up to the plate and be just as diligent in our efforts to kind of reverse this tide of gun violence with this illegal gun trade in Chicago as well.
So here's...
Okay, I'm going to cut in real quick, and I'm not trying to knock this man. I sympathize with this man 100%. But this is what I feel. This is just my opinion, okay? I understand that he wants to focus on the young black men in Chicago that are going through all this. I get that. That's why I say I sympathize, okay? Because they could be living a better life right now. But the same way that the Democrats like to use every race in order to back up their agenda, they'll pick and choose and vilify this one race to get the votes of this race, and they do it back and forth. Maybe now it's time that with his message, okay, and then you get the message from the Latino community, the Asian community, the white community, you all band together and let them know we are all fighting this together. Okay? I mean, the numbers that he's saying is staggering, and I believe it. I truly believe it. I mean, it's been one of the biggest things in Chicago, okay? The American black community that needs to be lifted up. But in my opinion, this is where all the communities have to get together and say, you know what? Now it's time for all of us to fight back. Not just for one, but for all of us, okay? Because it may be in the American black community, they're suffering the most. I get that. But there are other communities that are suffering. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, okay, left Illinois and moved back to Florida. This was about a week ago. And he says, I can't do it. He goes, I'm done. I'm going back to Florida. Because he really thought years ago, it's only been about, 4 or 5 years. Okay, he thought that he'd do better in Illinois, but he can't. And he's young. And he was like, no. He goes, he called me up. He goes, I'm back. He goes, I had to leave Illinois. So it's, and he's a white guy, so it's affecting everybody. But I do understand what he's saying. I respect him. I sympathize with him. And I'm glad that he's coming out and he's saying something. But I think that all the communities, all the races need to get together, okay? Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, we are Americans. And the problem with the left is that they don't want the communities to stick together. They'll use one to attack all the other ones. They'll disenfranchise one so like that they can get the vote from the other ones. It's time now that all the ones that feel that have this how can I say, the love for America and the love for their communities and all communities, they need to get together and say, you know what, we are done with this leftist regime. And what they're doing right now is a start, but they have to push back harder. They have to really band together. They got to vote these people out. And they got to make sure that, you know what, every community that is fighting for this is going to get a piece of the pie, an equal share of the pie. Okay? Because what will happen is, okay, and like I always say, you got to think outside the box, and you got to think way ahead of these Democrats, okay? Excuse me. They'll go, and like I said, they'll disenfranchise one of these communities and then point the finger and say, you see, they listened to Donald Trump, so we had to help them, which disenfranchised you. You gotta think like them. That's exactly how they'll freaking do it. They've thrown their own under the bus. We've seen it time and time again. Okay? So it's just my opinion, but let's continue.
Here's the dilemma with the illegal migrants. The Biden administration let about 9 million of them across the border. A good percentage of those has now taken up residence in the United States as they await asylum hearings or other legal proceedings. You can't just leave them to their own devices or they'll be starving in the streets. You've got to do something to take care of them. But at the same time, you got to look after the community that pays taxes to you and people who have been here, for generations. But the real trick here is, how do you achieve the balance between those two things to you?
It's hard to achieve a balance because it's inhumane for some of the migrants to be in Chicago. When they first arrived here, you had babies sitting on the streets and their parents begging for money on the street corners out there. The babies had to sit out on the streets almost like 18 hours a day. And I'm not making this up. You can ride around and see what I'm talking about. The conditions, cramming people up in these places here, they call them these little migrant shelters, whatever the case may be, totally inhumane. It's hard to balance because right now Chicago's facing a budget deficit, and the mayor talked about not raising property taxes, and he had to backstep a little bit recently because the city council decided not to allow him to raise property taxes, but during his campaign, he said he would never raise property taxes. Yeah. So the migrant crisis has caused a lot of ripple effects here in Chicago and across our state. So it's hard to balance because we have to get our act together in our city first before we. How could you have a sanctuary city and you're not prepared to provide sanctuary, adequate sanctuary in the first place? Right. The reason a lot of people voted for Trump as well because millions of Americans are tired of these perfect candidates. Trump is what you call the not so perfect candidate, and he was able to identify with people from all walks of life. That's the reason Trump became the president here of the United States of America. Even though he had a whole lot of issues in his background as well, people just were tired. They're tired of the people just telling them anything, and that's what's going on in Chicago right now. People are being bamboozled with the migrant crisis.
People decided that they really like the Trump policies, and we'll be watching closely to see how all of this is addressed. Tio Hart, it's been great to catch up with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And there you go, people. I mean, it's just crazy already. And it's like, the Biden administration, they're working overtime now because they know exactly what's going on. I mean, let's talk about, a giant caravan coming because they're trying to get through before Trump, takes over. But here's the thing. How many more of these illegals are they going to let in to flood the blue cities before the people in the blue cities really start to retaliate? And I'm not condoning any kind of violence or anything like that. But it's like, it's bad enough that the left has painted Donald Trump and people on the right as these vicious, evil people. Okay? And it just goes on and on and on with the mainstream media, social media. They keep their eyes fixated on that. Why aren't they out there? All these people, like I'll say it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Okay? Tennessee Brando talks so much about Donald Trump and MAGA and this and that. They were evil people, this and that, yada, yada, yada. Why don't you go out there and talk about the Venezuelan gang that has taken over 4 spots in Tennessee? Why don't you talk about that? Okay? You got these content creators in New York, okay, bad-mouthing people that voted for Trump. Why don't you talk about the crime in New York that's going on? Content creators in California, in Chicago, Pennsylvania, in Seattle. All you could do is focus on Donald Trump and the people that voted for him, but you're not worried about with the massive followings that you people have. You're not talking about the people that you think are on your side. Okay? You're not out there doing real, since you're always talking about, where's the humanity? Where's your humanity to take your platform and go out and go protest for better neighborhoods, better security, less drugs, less crime? No, you keep staying focused just like the mainstream media, okay, and the politicians in Washington on one man and his movement. And the whole time, he's gaining more steam. He's getting more people from your side, okay, to join this movement. But yet all they can come out and say, just like the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of New York, the governor of Chicago, the governor of New York, the governor of California, Seattle, Pennsylvania, all of them. Mayors and governors, judges, district attorneys, attorney generals. Trump is a racist, he's a Nazi, and everybody that follows him is a Nazi. But they won't talk about the crime, they won't talk about the poverty, they won't talk about the kids needing better schooling, how parents need better help. They won't talk about none of that. But let a teacher in California just whisper the word transgender about a kid that's not even thinking about it, and a parent comes out and says, don't teach that to my child, they'll take the child away. Instead of taking the money and sending the family to therapy, no, they'll just take your child away. People are fed up. This is no more about a Democrat party. This is a party that is, like I've been saying for the longest, their intentions are straight up demonic. They don't care about the illegal babies out in the street homeless no more than they do the American baby out in the street homeless. But they want to keep dividing everybody, okay, and making it seem like, you know what, everybody that's telling you these things is racist. This is what's really going on. We love you. Vote for us. And now all these people are like, well, if you love us, why don't you look out for us? Oh, we could do both, but you're not. You're only doing one side. The side you're doing for the side that we don't want you to do for. We need you to help us, our neighborhoods, our people. We're the taxpayers. We voted you in. And they won't listen. They just condescend their constituents and make it seem like, oh, this is Trump's fault. And if Trump thinks he's going to come and start taking, like the governor said, my people, listen, bro, you ain't got no people. Okay? Your supposed people voted you in, and you're letting your people down. You don't got no people. Okay? But this is the way they do it. Once they get power, they become gangsters. They're like, we're in, there's nothing you could do about it. But yes, there is, people. Okay? It's called voting them out, recalling them, whatever it is you have to do. It's not unheard of. Okay, and if the people, if the upper, you know, the head figures in Chicago think that, oh, just because, you know, Chicago, Illinois turned a little blue, a little purple, it's fine. No, it's not. Trust me, it's not. It's over for you. So if you're going to think you're going to ride it out to 2026 and get reelected, no, this red wave is going to continue. Okay? It's going to keep continuing until you look at the map of the U.S. and you're probably going to be able to count all the blue states on one hand. I guarantee you, people are fed up. But do you listen? No. You take more money and you let the people suffer. And it's demonic. I'm sorry. It's pathetic. It's everything wrong in the book that you can name it. And it's just not right, especially for Americans. It's not right. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. Also, like I said, I'm going to try to get and do some more research on the on what's going on in Tennessee. I just heard about it this morning, so I'm sure that they, if they don't try to suppress any information on what's going on in Tennessee like they're doing in Colorado, I'll see what I can do on that, and then we'll see. So also, don't forget, I only got a few shirts left. If anybody wants to buy a t-shirt, it'll help the channel. If you can't, it's okay. Just make sure you subscribe and give the channel a thumbs up. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for your enemies. Pray for this country. And pray for Donald Trump. Peace.